Hello, it's Veronica and Naomi, and we're going to talk about something very interesting today. I'm sure some of you have heard that term creepypasta floating around the internet. This term is a combination of the word creepy and copy paste, and it refers to short horror stories that can be copy pasted all over internet forums. Emphasis on short horror stories. So, some authors of these stories remain anonymous, some make themselves known. But creepypasta has become a popular genre on the internet. And it really had a big rise in the 2010s. Like, you had all that stuff like Jeff the Killer and Smile Dog, the whole like Slenderverse and all that, the one with the Marble Hornet stuff, which we haven't fully gotten into, but there's a lot of that stuff out there. But we noticed with some of the older stuff, it's not the most well written works of horror fiction out there. So we wanted to discuss a piece of horror fiction and do a read through of it that we actually really like. This creepypasta, Candle Cove, was written by the author Kris Straub in 2009. It got so popular on the internet, it got its own fan-made wiki page. We're not kidding on this. That wiki page has over 200 articles, is a thing on its own. And there's so many people who make fan-made content for it. But we're not here to talk about the wiki. We're gonna read the creepypasta that inspired it all. And it also got a TV show adaptation that we have a DVD of. So at some point, Sci-Fi decided to do a show called Channel Zero, and one of its seasons was an adaptation of Candle Cove. Although, we have to say that, like, while it's cute and it's okay for what it's trying to replicate, it does not capture the level of horror and creepiness that the original story has. So the author of this story eventually took it off the Creepypasta wiki and put it on his own website. And he also like released some books that had his own creepypasta stories in them. So this one is called Candle Cove and Other Stories. And well, it has Candle Cove and some other stories that he wrote in this. So yeah. So without ado, let's finally read Candle Cove. You can't forget about me in this. Oh, Percy, what are you doing here? Oh yeah, he's a custom doll that our grandma made inspired by this creepypasta. So let's get into it. So the format of this story is like an internet forum. So you kind of have it there. Okay, so Candle Cove, and then the forum is called Nostalgia Forum Television Local. So Skyshell 033 says, on subject Candle Cove Local Kids Show, does anyone remember this kids show? It was called Candle Cove, and it must have been 6 or 7. I never found reference to it anywhere, so I think it was on a local station around 1971 or 1972. I lived in Ironton at the time. I don't remember which station, but I do remember it was on at a weird time, like 4 p.m. And then Mike Painter, 65, replies, "It seems really familiar to me. I grew up outside of Ashland and was 9 years old in 72. Candle Cove was about pirates. I remember a pirate marionette at the mouth of a cave talking to a little girl." And then Sky Shell 033 replies, "Yes, okay, I'm not crazy. I remember Pirate Percy. I was always kind of scared of him. He looked like he was built from parts of other dolls, real low budget. His head was an old porcelain baby doll. Looked like an antique that didn't belong on the body. I don't remember what station that was. I don't think it was WTSF, though." And then Darren 2005 replies, "Sorry to resurrect this old thread, but I know exactly what show you mean, Sky Shale. I think Count Cove ran for only a couple months in 71, not 72. I was 12 and I watched it a few times with my brother. It was Channel 58, whatever station that was. My mom would let me switch to afternoon news. Let me see what I remember. It took place in Candle Cove. It was about a little girl who imagined herself to be friends with pirates. The pirate ship was called the Laughingstock, and Pirate Percy wasn't a very good pirate because he got scared too easily. And there was Calliope music constantly playing. Don't remember the little girl's name. Janice or Jade or something. I think it was Janice." And then Skyshell replies, "Thank you, Jaren. Memories flooded back when you mentioned the Laughingstock in Channel 58. I remember the bow of the ship was a wooden smiling face. With the lower jaw submerged. It looked like it was swallowing the sea, and it had that awful Edwin voice and laugh. Especially remember how jarring it was when they switched to the wooden plastic model. From the wooden plastic model to the foam puppet version of the head that talked." And then Mike Painter 65 replies, "Haha, I remember now too. Do you remember this part, Skyshell? You have to go inside." And then Skyshell 033 replies, "Oh, Mike, I got chill reading that. Yes, I remember. That's what the ship always told Percy when there was a spooky place he had to go in, like a cave or a dark room where the treasure was. And the camera would push in on Laptop's face with each pause. You have to go inside," with his two eyes askew, and that flopping foam jaw and the fishing line that opened and closed it. It just looks so cheap and awful. You guys remember the villain? He had a face that was just a handlebar mustache above two really narrow teeth. Lincoln Hart replies, "I honestly thought the villain was Pirate Percy. I got 5 when this show was on. Nightmare fuel." And then Darren 2005 replies, "That wasn't the villain. The puppet with the mustache. That was the villain's sidekick. Horrible. He had a monocle too, but it was on top of the mustache. I used to think that he meant that meant he only had one eye. But yeah, the villain was another marionette, the Skin Taker. I can't believe what they let us watch back then." And then Kevin Hart replies, "Jesus H. Christ, the Skin Taker. What kind of kids show were we watching? I seriously cannot look at the screen." When the Skin Taker showed up, he just descended out of nowhere on his strings, just a dirty skeleton wearing that brown top hat and cape, and his glass eyes that were too big for his skull. Christ almighty. Then Skyshell Sarah 33 replies, "Wasn't his top hat and cloak all sewn up crazily? Was that supposed to be children's skin?" Then Mike Painter 65 replies, "Yeah, I think so. I remember his mouth didn't open and close. His jaw just slid back and forth. I remember the little girl said, 'Why does your mouth move like that?' And the Skin Taker didn't look at the girl, but the camera and said, 'To grind your skin.'" And then Skyshell 033 replies, "I am so relieved that other people remember this terrible show. I used to have this awful memory, a bad dream, where the opening jingle ended. the show faded in from black, and all the characters were there. But the camera was just cutting to each of their faces, and they were just screaming. And the puppets and marionettes were flailing spastically, and all just screaming. The girl was just moaning and crying, like she had been through hours of this. I woke up many times from that nightmare. I used to wet the bed when I had it. Then Kevin Hart replies, I don't think that was a dream. I remember that. I remembered that was an episode. Then SkyShell033 replies, No, not possible. There was no plot or anything. I mean, literally, just standing in place, crying and screaming for the whole show. Then Kevin Hart replies, Yeah. Okay, maybe Patrick's memory because you said that. If I swear to God, I remember seeing what you described. They just screamed. And then Darren 2005 replies, Oh God, yes. The little girl, Janice. I remember seeing her shake, and the skin taker screaming through his gnashing teeth. His jaw cracking so wildly I thought it would come off its wire hinges. I turned it off, and it was the last time I watched. I ran to tell my brother, and we didn't have the courage to turn it back on. And then there's the final entry in this forum, in this fictional conversation, and it's by Mike Painter, 65. And it says, I visited my mom today at the nursing home. I asked her about when I was little in the early 70s, when I was 8 or 9, and if she remembered a kids show, Candle Cove. She said she was surprised I could remember that, and I asked why. And she said, because I used to think that it was so strange that you said, I'm going to go watch Candle Cove now, Mom. And then you would tune the TV to static and just watch dead air for 30 minutes. You had a big imagination with your little pirate show. So, that is Candle Cove, and yeah, it's a very simple creepypasta. Other than the weird fan-made explanation that only people who believe in it can watch the show and kids can watch the show because some made-up air signal that only kids could see on the Candle Cove wiki, that theory in itself is so convoluted. There's no explanation that is official for why it ended like that. And the visuals in this story too. I love how crisp the details are. I love how they're described in such a specific way that you could just kind of picture these puppets in your head as you're reading this. And the whole thing with the screaming episode, while it may be more equivalent to a cheesy jump scare almost, it certainly does make the story a little creepier. It makes it a bit more interesting. It makes you wonder what is going on with it. And that's Candle Cove. And now you know that Pirate Percy is a coward. I just get scared easily. No, you're a coward. Well, we hope that you enjoyed this little creepypasta reading. And we hope everybody has a good day or a good night when you're watching this. Because we honestly had fun reading this one. It's a very interesting piece of fiction. And definitely one of the better written creepypastas out there. So goodbye, mysterious audience. I love you. Naomi loves you. And that was the video.